You ever tried tree hugging? Let's try it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Returning to Earth TV, where I share with you the wonders of Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, also known as forest therapy. I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. In the first 3 videos so far, we have seen the various stages of arriving and coming to the forest. And our whole goal in this has been to arrive in this space of the dream time, or the liminal spaces. And this is the spot where boundaries begin to sort of dissolve between me and the natural world, where the world feels more dreamy and there's more possibilities, and there's less of the logical mind at play, and there's more of the body and the intuition, and these kinds of senses are at work. So we've done the initial steps. The first 3 videos went over coming to a threshold and preparing your body, standing in mountain pose. And then the second video was about going through your senses and a sense inventory. And the last video I did was about doing an invitation called Moments of Motion, where you walk very slowly down a trail and look for what is moving. So after having done all of those steps, then we arrive in this liminal space, in the dream time. And these next few videos that I'm going to be doing, starting with today's video, will be invitations that you can do while you are in that liminal space. And so there's a lot of different options here. I'm just going to share with you over the next couple videos about 3 different invitations, but there are many opportunities and different options that you can take while you're in the liminal space. So this first one we're going to do today is a classic old favorite, tree hugging. Yes. And there's a little bit of energy around that concept, tree hugging. It's even been considered a pejorative to call environmentalists tree huggers as if it were an insult. But in fact, I am a tree hugger. I love hugging trees, and I'm going to share with you my process for hugging trees today. So let's get into that. The first thing I want to talk about is personal space. Just trees have personal space, I believe, just like we do as people. So, like, for example, if I was meeting a person, or I was walking up to a person, like this wasn't a tree, but this was a person, that person would have personal space. That, like, if I was going to cross into that personal space, I would want to check with them first before I went into their personal space. And the same is true for me with trees. And so first thing I do when I'm thinking about hugging a tree is, well, first I select the tree that looks huggable to me. So I look around and I'm like, well, this guy looks pretty good. Maybe I'll see if he's open to a hug, or she, as the case may be. And so I might walk up to the boundary where their personal space begins. I don't just rush right in. I'll stop here and be like, what do you think? You cool with a hug? I come in for a little contact and wait for a little while, get a response maybe, and be like, okay. And then as I cross the threshold, I just want to be sensitive where the tree's energy is and see if I can feel it as I get closer. And I can feel it right here. I can sense that this is a living being. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll put my hands up and I'll touch the trunk and just take a moment to open my palms and just receive some of the tree's energy and vitality through the palms of my hands. And take a few breaths here. And then what I'm going to do is I'll move in closer for the hug itself. Now, hugging can be like triangle hugging, like this, where you meet somebody and you're like, oh, hey, nice to see you. All right, really nice. Well, so that's one kind of a hug. The kind of hug I would encourage you to do with trees is more of a full contact body hug, where I'm going to try to get as much of my body against the tree as I can. And when I do this, I think about my chakras. And so the accessible chakras that I have towards this tree on the front here are my second chakra, or my sex chakra, my solar plexus just above the stomach right here, and then my heart chakra, and then even my throat chakra. I could potentially have that against the tree. So my goal is to put as much of my body against the tree as I can on here. So, and then I hold the tree and keep breathing. And when I'm doing this, oftentimes I'll think about breathing with the tree. And then in fact, as I'm inhaling, I am inhaling oxygen that is being produced by the crown above me. All those green leaves up there are creating oxygen that is showering down upon me. So I can inhale that, and I can visualize that, inhaling oxygen and exhaling my CO2, which consequently the tree then inhales, because the tree inhales CO2 to conduct photosynthesis, and then it exhales oxygen, which I then inhale. And then I exhale my CO2, the tree inhales the CO2 and exhales the oxygen, I inhale the oxygen. And so it's this loop that just goes around and around. And I like to think about that while I'm hugging a tree, and just the symbiotic relationship that I am dependent on this being to keep me alive on the most basic, intimate level. Like, I am exchanging gases with this tree. Its gases, its exhale, I am bringing that into my body in a very deep, intimate way, all the way to the depths of my lungs. And then I'm exhaling out my CO2, and then that is inhaled into every leaf of this tree so that it can photosynthesize, create sugars, and then exhale its waste product, which is oxygen, and then I inhale that. And so really being mindful of that cycle is a beautiful thing. And in fact, I heard somewhere that our lungs and trees are really two parts of one system. That our lungs are really, our part of it is just half of the system. And that really when I look at a tree, I'm looking at the other half of my lungs. Whoa, that's pretty cool. So that's something that I like to think about while I'm doing this. So I'll stay here for a moment, breathing and connecting with the tree. And then when I'm done, I'll disengage from the tree and I'll slowly back away. And I'll step back again to that boundary of personal space that I came to at the beginning. And I'll say thanks. I'll give thanks to the tree for having spent some time with me. And the way I like to do that is with a namaste, like I've been doing at the end of the videos, where the light in me salutes the light in this tree. So I'll do that. Namaste. After hugging a tree like this, I feel dropped into my body and more profoundly present in this landscape. And I also feel less fear in my life and less anxiety. I feel like the world is just a little bit more of a safe place for me. And I kind of feel like the tree's kind of got my back. It's got my front, supports me. So I'm there, and I'm there with it, and it's there with me, and we're all together. And that's the whole idea about this nature therapy stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Thanks for listening. And that's kind of what my version of tree hugging looks like, along with a little bit of tree breathing and visualizing that exchange and working in a little bit of the science, because that's kind of fun too sometimes, to engage that aspect of my mind. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching that. There will be a future video coming soon, which I'm going to take us further into the dream time with an activity called water gazing. It's very simple, like many of these invitations are. Very, very simple, not a complicated process. But it does take time, and I know I've said that before in previous videos, but it does take time. I find that if I take the time to go through my sense inventory and to practice moments of motion, take that slow walk and look for motion in nature, that after doing that process will be about, a half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour to get to this point where I'm ready to hug a tree or to gaze into some water and to really enjoy the flavors of this liminal dream time space that we've gotten to. So next time we'll get into some water gazing. Once again, I'm so glad that you showed up for this. It's really great that you're here. And really do, if you feel like leaving a comment in the comments below, it really is great to hear from you and to hear just what's going on the other side of the camera, because I don't really know. So if you could leave a comment on this video, that'd be wonderful. And just answering that simple question once again, what did you notice after doing this? What did you notice in the process of doing it? Also, what did you notice after the fact, after you hugged the tree for a while and then you stepped away? So that's it for today. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.